you actually know that this year's Christmas was nearly to be cancelled? And this happened this way. Santa Claus was sitting in his cottage at the North Pole and was busy working on the kids' wish lists. Out there, a big blizzard was blustering. Rudolph left Santa's cottage a couple of hours ago. He was going outside to get some new firewood. At the same time, the grumpy troll was standing in his cave. He only had a little fire pit which warmed him a little bit. For some days, the troll didn't have something proper to eat. His provisions came to the end. The troll was really sad, because he always looked so grumpy. The people feared him and got out of his way. All the years the troll was alone in his den on Christmas. He had no family and no friends he could celebrate Christmas with. It was his big wish to celebrate Christmas at last. This year he even put on a Christmas cap which he had found in the woods a long time ago. Somebody must have lost it. And by that the troll looked sadly from his cold cave out into the blizzard. In the meantime, Santa Claus got a bit bumpy. Where just was Rudolph checking? The reindeer went away a couple of hours ago. Santa was worrying because he needed the reindeer with his big red nose to guide his sleigh. Santa stood up and looked out of the window. Maybe he could see Rudolph somewhere. The only thing Santa saw when looking outside the window was the snowdrift. Then he walked back to his desk and continued working on the children's endless wish lists. A couple of hours ago, Rudolph left Santa's cabin. He just wanted to fetch some firewood. Santa should sit warm and comfortable in his cottage. As Rudolph stepped out the door, the blizzard was so strong that Rudolph couldn't see anything. On his way to the wood shelter, Rudolph turned into the wrong direction. Without recognizing, the reindeer walked in this blizzard far away from the cottage. A few minutes later, Rudolph, frightened, noticed that he no longer knew where he was. It was snowing so strong that he couldn't see anything. Rudolph got feared. Rudolph got lost during the snowstorm. What should he do right now? Santa needed him indeed. How should he find the way back to the cabin through this blizzard? Rudolph was desperate. The cold wind blew into his face and big snowflakes flew into his eyes. With all of his power, the reindeer battled against the storm, without seeing where he was actually going. Suddenly, Rudolph bumped with his head against an iced rock. Everything went black. Then he fell into the snow, where he remained. A long time the troll agonized what to do. He was hungry. His stomach growled awfully. Outside his den a horrible blizzard blustered. What should he poorly do? At the end his dreadful hunger predominated and he left his cave. He went to search something to eat. There must be something to find somewhere. By that the troll strayed through the dense snowdrift to find something eatable. Even the troll could hardly see anything in the snowstorm. He strayed along and tried to orientate as good as possible. Even it was nearly possible. The troll turned his head aside because the snow flew directly into his eyes. Therefore he couldn't see the big icy chunk laying just in front of him. And it happened as it had to happen. The troll kicked at the chunk and jabbed his big toe. Because he fought against the wind, he bent over and fell into the snow. The troll was covered with snow from head to toe. Really angry, he picked himself up, bristled with anger, and tapped the snow from his arms and legs. After the troll recovered for a short moment, he continued limping his search for something eatable. Suddenly he saw something lying in the snow behind the chunk. The troll spotted fur. Right in this moment his stomach started to growl. louder than before. He went closer to take a look at this furry something. Yes, it was actually fur. That meant something to eat. In his thoughts, the troll just saw juicy roast, which would broil above the fire pit in his den. Having this thought was mouth-watering, and his stomach growled even louder. As the troll started to pick up the furry thing, it suddenly gave a jerk and turned his head. At first the troll saw a big red shining nose and then two little beady eyes which light-headed stared at him. Again the stomach of the troll growled horrible. Suddenly the green colossus noticed that the reindeer in front of him was Rudolph, Santa Claus reindeer. Under these circumstances, the troll didn't care if his stomach was growling, because he couldn't feed on Rudolph. With his grumpy view, he looked at the weak reindeer. Rudolph still saw little stars dancing in front of his eyes. He hardly recognized what was going on. The troll was just considering. Then he grabbed the wounded Rudolph and lifted him up. He laid Rudolph over his shoulder and started stamping. The reindeer asked himself where the troll was going to take him. Everybody knew that the troll was living in a cold, dark cave. Rudolph got scared and began shaking. That was it with Christmas this year, and maybe forever. Rudolph was heavy swallowing. Obviously, the troll battled through the snowstorm with Rudolph carrying on his shoulder. He had only one goal in front of his eyes. His stomach growled louder and louder. With big beefy steps, the troll climbed through the snow. In the distance, one could see a little light. The green monster continued his way. Suddenly, he reached his goal and knocked at a wooden door. The door opened creaky, and in the doorframe stood a dumbfounded Santa Claus. Immediately he noticed his beloved reindeer Rudolph hanging over the shoulder of the troll. Santa had worried about Rudolph. He pleased the troll to come into the cottage. The green grumbler stumped in and put Rudolph carefully on the floor. The reindeer had a big bump on his head and was frozen to the marrow. Santa was really glad seeing Rudolph alive and, aside from the bump, that the reindeer was fine. Santa made 2 cups of hot chocolate for Rudolph and the troll. Both were glad about the chocolate because they were frozen to the marrow. At the open fire they get warm and joined with the little drams the hot chocolate. Suddenly the troll's stomach growled again. First at all, Santa was frightened by this nose and looked at the troll. The green grumbler only argued, "Troll, hungry." Santa quickly started to fetch some food for the troll. Greedy, the famished troll rushed over the food. Santa was glad that Rudolph was with him again. He feeded the troll and cuddled up the poor reindeer. After the troll and Rudolph recovered, Santa thanked the troll for saving Rudolph's life and bringing him back home. Santa felt that the troll wasn't keen on going back to his cold den, and so Santa asked the troll if he would like to stay over Christmas with him and Rudolph. Santa was in need of some strong helping hands. The troll was happy not to be alone on this year's Christmas Eve. He immediately agreed. By this way, the troll became Santa's new, even a bit bigger, Christmas elf. Because the troll overcame his hunger and didn't feed on the poor Rudolph, this year's Christmas can take place. It's Christmas, the time of charity. Merry Christmas! Joyeux Noël! Feliz Navidad! Bon Natal! Feliz Natal!